quite light out anymore.
It's not quite light out. And we're back. We're walking stuff and dead things.
It's been a long time since we talked to anybody.
I know. Considering this is like a double episode in one day.
You made a sandwich.
I made a sandwich. It was a triple-decker. Peanut butter and jelly.
I knew a hooker like that once.
She was more jelly than peanut butter.
She was still a triple-decker. Anyways, so we're at Alexandria.
We're at Alexandria.
That was her name, actually. No. That's bad. That's horrible.
That is quite...
So Alexandria is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't quite look as impressive as it did in the photos.
Not really.
Still...
At least not from what we've seen.
Still leaves some bounds from what they've been, wooden barn and such.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's a lot better than what they had.
Which was kindling.
And pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Alexandria now. Rick's kind of...
Looking a little cleaner.
Looking a little cleaner.
We...
haven't seen Rick this clean shaven since day one.
Okay. I'm going to say this now just because it's I'm nitpicking again. They spent a lot of time in conversation laboring over how long it's been since they've had a shower and how long they took in the shower and the fact that it took Michonne to like 30 minutes to brush her teeth and all that. I get it, and it's a really, really important thing, and it's like you figure they haven't had a shower in like 5 years. But they really spent a lot of time talking about it. Like they could have dropped like 1 or 2 hints and let it go, but like
I think they just wanted to accentuate the relief everybody in the group had of having this kind of luxury.
Speaking of relief, running bathrooms.
Running bathrooms
are a thing.
This place has plumbing.
The first thing they do, they walk into the place and they turn on the water. They all walk into the same place though.
Yes.
They wanted to give them 2 houses next to each other, and you can tell like they're all happy to be somewhere presumably safe, but they're not by any means like opening themselves up either.
They're not ready for that yet.
They don't even want to be like here and here. Like they want to be here. And they're all camped out on the floor. And even the woman that runs the place, whose name was Deanna?
Deanna.
I can't think of the actress's name, but I know a lot of people that were watching it, especially at my house anyway. I don't know the name of the actress, but she spent a lot of time as like a semi-regular... I'm off the frame, thank you.
Cool.
Wheels, it happens. What was I going to say there? The woman that plays Deanna that's sort of running I was going to say the prison. It's not a prison, it's the city there.
Not yet.
She was a semi-regular on Law and Order as a defense attorney.
I didn't watch Law and Order.
I just like... There's a few times in this show where I'm able to reference people from other things. Basically, mine have been Lori is played by Sarah Wayne Callies, who played Sarah, big stretch there, on Prison Break. Obviously, we all know Norman Reedus from Boondock Saints, and I recognize this woman whose name I think her last name, either her actress last name or her character's last name on Law and Order was something along the lines of Michalak, who, if I'm right, I could be totally off the mark because we're going back like 15 years. But if it is who I think it is, and if it is who I recognize it as, we're in for quite a treat because she's very good at being a bitch. So if it turns out that she is a bad guy, villain type, which we're not 100% sure about, but if she is a villain on this show, I think we're in for a treat there.
That would be nice. The only other... I recognized... Everybody Hates Chris.
Yeah, which I've never seen.
I just remember seeing a couple episodes and, seeing pictures online and everything.
Yeah.
And then when I seen him in the show, that's kind of where it clicked off and I recognized.
Something we didn't touch on in the last episode, and I meant to, was the conversation that Noah had with Aaron in the RV on the way to Alexandria, and he mentions that he notices Noah's limp, and he says, well, if you guys decide to join our community, we got a good surgeon there, he can sort of fix you up. It's like, hey, you should come join our community, we could give you a leg, which is either an encouraging, helpful thing, or kind of like a blackmail thing. Like, it's subtly both ways.
Subtly. Very subtly.
But I mean, he's just bringing amends for his boyfriend who's still got the messed up foot. So it could have just been banter. It could have been a little bit of a I don't like want to say politicking the groups together. But that's the thing. You know, you got to touch. You can't. A group as strong as, you know, our people on Walking Dead, you're not gonna convince them as a group.
No.
You gotta either get to Carol, or get to Rick, or get to Daryl, or get to Glenn. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even say Maggie so much, only because Maggie's super independent and everything, and we've seen that happen. Yeah. You know, it just sucks when the sun keeps setting. But Maggie, I think, will go with Glenn.
Mm-hmm. No matter what.
For the most part, like if they're diametrically opposed on something, that could be an interesting thing for the show. But I think for the most part, they're together. So you get in Rick's head, or Daryl's head, or Glenn's head, or Carol's head.
Yeah.
You've got the group, but you can't convince them as a group, because as a group they're going to want to look tough and hard ass and impenetrable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I
liked how Daryl was on the porch gutting his possum.
Daryl's not settling in.
No, he's still stuck in his ways, and he's always going to be stuck in his ways.
It's not a matter of being stuck in his ways. It's as we talked about last episode, Daryl's life was not okay even before the apocalypse. So okay, you picture the rest of the group. And it's like, okay, for 5 years they've been, you know, we use the hashtag all the time, you know, XYZ person is not okay.
Yeah.
Daryl's, okay, so the rest of them have been not okay for 5 years. Daryl's life,
not okay
his whole life.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, I don't think Daryl would fit into a society like this. And they need him if they're out there trying to... I mean, I'm thinking in his own head.
Yeah.
Because obviously we know what Daryl can contribute to the group. Look what he did in the prison, for example. But I think in his own head, if it's not a fight for survival every second, then what's my place in this group? Which I'm not saying, but I can see Daryl thinking that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen, like, even including this season, Daryl doesn't think much of himself a lot of the time. Like, not that he doesn't think much of himself. Obviously, he takes care of himself, he survives and all that sort of thing. But I don't think he puts himself up on much of a pedestal.
Yeah.
Which is good, but at the same time, you know, you need to know that you're awesome and do stuff, and you're the reason half the female friends we have watch the show. This is a thing.
Yes.
It's not Rick. And there's not a whole lot of tail chasing Glenn. All of us are like, how the hell did he get that? But, Lauren Cullen.
Creative writers.
I think Glenn, or whoever, Steve Ewan, bribed the writers. That's my new theory on life.
Please have this girl as my girlfriend in the show.
You're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. What do? You clearly bang the farmer's daughter in the abandoned pharmacy. You know what I just thought of? He was on a run for Lori at that point. So you definitely bang the farmer's daughter in the abandoned pharmacy in front of the prophylactics.
Yep.
This is a thing. Couple different things. The whole videotaped interview process.
I think it's a psychological thing. Because that way they have records on everybody who they bring in as they are when they bring them in, and then there's like the review. This is what you came in as, and this is what you are now, kind of thing. Not to mention it also gives her a little bit of reference on character, on who these people are later on if she has any kind of questions.
Well, her big thing was she said she was a politician of some kind. I think she was like not a governor, but a mayor or something along that line before all this happened. So a lot of that, and she hints to it a little bit, a lot of that is being a really good judge of character, being able to read people, knowing what people want to hear, knowing what they want to listen to, whatever. And even if it's in a positive way, even if she is genuinely building up this community to be a flourishing, you know, advancement for humankind or whatever, you still need to have that people judging ability to to get the best out of people.
Yeah.
You know, this. You know, how can I motivate this person? How can I, and I'm taking the positive.
And she did that too.
Yeah. I'm taking the positive possibilities. We'll talk about the negative possibilities in a second, right?
Yeah.
But if she can look at that interview and look back and watch it and whatever, and they have TVs, which is a thing.
Yeah.
Not much on, but
No. Cable's been out for about 5 years.
They must have Rogers.
Bay fucking Jing.
But no, if she goes back at those interviews later on, looks at them, and has a better chance to sort of analyze and judge their character, it could be very potentially a matter of, you know, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to have a think, you know, where can I put these people in my community where it'll help the community and it'll make them feel important and make them proud of whatever they're doing so that their lives are better, and their lives being better makes other people better.
Yeah.
That's the positive end. The negative end is if she's got this analytical skill or people reading ability that she claims to have or that she seems to be very proud of. How can I take these people apart if necessary?
Yeah.
What little ticks did I notice? Which things in what conversations bothered what people?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, like, even when she was videotaping Rick, and Rick sat there and said, "You shouldn't open your gates
at all."
At all. And he was going through everything, and she sat there and says, "Are you telling us that we shouldn't have opened up our gates to you, or are
in theory, yes,
or are you already helping us?"
Well, it's both. I mean, any advice that Rick and I'm going to go off on a separate tangent on this in a second too. Any help that Rick can give them will help them, but he's not even. I don't even think he's attempting to help them. I just think he's.
It was essentially her trying to turn it around on him.
Yes, but I mean, at this point, anything anybody asks Rick, it's just like, dumbass, this is how the world is. We are good people, but you had no way of knowing that. You shouldn't open your doors to anybody in this situation and whatnot. But the whole interview thing was kind of cool. I think from a show perspective, from a like putting together the episode perspective, it was a neat opportunity to have sort of one-on-one and get inside, for us to get inside each character's head separately, because we see how they interact. We know where the connections are, we know where the histories are, so we see the dynamic of them as a group, but it was a chance individually to see where each of these characters that we've all gotten quite attached to are at. I thought it was also very telling, and I think there's sort of a mutual, like an unsaid mutual sort of fearful respect, understanding type thing. They took all the guns.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning they had, and I thought it was kind of cool, the little, I'm drifting again. Your floor is not flat, I'm pretty damn sure. But the lady that came out with the cart and said, we ask you to surrender all your guns when you're here. When you're out there in the wilds, obviously they're still yours. Nobody else is going to take them, they're still yours. Sign them out when you're going out on a run, or if you're going out to find people or whatever, and then just turn them in when you're done. When they start unarming themselves, the woman with the cart just says, I should have brought 2 carts. But all that being, I mean, that was a cute little moment, a cute little, hey, this is how we do things here, but also it shows that they have a little bit of a sense of humor. It's like, wow, you guys have a lot of guns. And they just were cool with it, whereas like Woodbury would have been like, what the fuck, why do these people have so many guns? So there's a little bit of a feeling out process there.
So this is how you survived.
Well, pretty much, right? But at the same time, it was like, this is how we do things here. It was a little bit of feeling, each group feeling the other group out. That all being said, they set this thing in place. Once you're in here, you turn in your weapons. Crossbow still firmly over Daryl's shoulder, even when he's in his interview. So I think we're supposed to believe that at some point, whoever was taking all the guns away got told to go fuck themselves by Daryl. And this is a thing. And that goes with the kind of character that Daryl is.
Yeah, that goes without saying. And they even said the reason as to why they were confiscating him inside is just, you don't need them in here. We're safe enough without having to...
Well, that was the good thing. As part of Rick's group, on one end, I mean, this is all like if you believe what these people are saying, right? But you want to hear that a group is that confident, like you don't need them here. We're not, but at the same time, you want to hear that other half of it, where it's like, we're not taking these, we're not confiscating these. They are yours. They're right here. You know, sign them out when you need or whatever. Because on the one hand, it could be like, you know, it's so great in here, you don't need weapons, or we don't want you to have weapons.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, like, even at that point, I would say, like, yeah, I'll give you most of my guns, but I'm keeping some of them.
Yeah.
You'll
You'll
notice
notice
this excess of guns because, you know, we are in a gated, safe community. But at the same time, if I'm going to be living here, I need to have my own assurance that I'm going to be protected. And the only way I've known how to protect myself
is to not trust a fucking soul.
is not to trust a fucking soul, but having that weaponry.
What I will say, as far as having smaller personal weapons and whatever, they
Like
didn't.
the knives.
They didn't take any of the knives.
No.
And I think they sort of went out of their way to show that because Carol's got her big fucking like brass knuckles looking knife right on the front of her belt.
Yep.
And from a
Daryl's gutting that possum with it.
Oh,
with,
yeah.
With his knife, and then you got Carl checking shit out with his knife, with his
yeah.
fucking
Carl-
butterfly knife.
One thing I really loved, and this has nothing to do with, you know, who's what or who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, and whatever, but they're in this new place, and Carl, okay, I don't want to use the word kid, because that's not the right word, but I'm going to use it now and hope that you and everybody knows what I mean. Carl's not the only kid anymore.
Yeah.
And he has zero idea how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't know how to be one of the kids.
Because he's missed so much. He's had.
Well, he's an
so
adult.
much.
He's had to be an adult.
He's changed.
He's been the second parent
And I
to
think that's what
Judith.
that other girl that was
The one that's all
quiet.
twitchy?
I think
Yeah.
him and her are very
yeah.
relatable.
Oh, for sure. And they're going to be like, I'm not saying they're going to go like kitty bang somewhere, but like they're going to be a thing somewhere along the way.
That's what I think too.
Like, I really thought, and I'm going to try and not to make as many mind blown references. It's because I know I've kind of done it to death. I really figured.
Was that a pun in itself? You've done it to death.
No, but Daryl probably would have done it to death if they had gotten her out of there. So, no, anyways, bad. All right. No, I really thought at some point, like, up until the split second where the trigger was pulled, obviously, but when you really thought that Beth was going to be pulled out of there, we saw a chance, like, in her individual episodes with Daryl, as well as her individual episodes at Slab City, you really saw Beth go from this girl that a couple of seasons ago wanted to kill herself to this badass that's like, no, fuck all of you.
Yep.
And we saw Carl do the same thing. I really thought that Beth and Carl, storyline wise, was going to be something.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily a couple, like I say, like, because that's pretty stereotypical.
Almost like siblings.
Yeah, or like as close as siblings.
BFFs.
Yeah. Like, if we have to repopulate the planet, okay, come on, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
Emily Kinney, giggity. Who's a really good singer, by the way, in real life.
Yeah,
Like, it's not just on the show. Just putting that one out there.
Apparently she's going to be on Gotham. Yeah. I'll find that for you later.
As
I don't remember as who. I know she was going to be in a show. I think it might have been Gotham.
Harley.
I hope so.
Hello, Mr. J.
Everybody, thoughts down in the box below. Emily Kinney as Harley Quinn. Put the little jester hat on, you know, cover up the hole. We're good to go. One thing I will say, if we're going to talk about Gotham in relationship to Walking Dead for a second, Robin Lord Tyler on Talking Dead was pretty fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say, a comment that went around my house that entire night, he really is that twitchy in real life.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird. Anyways, enough of that. One thing really off-putting about this episode, and I know she's doing it by design, I know she's got some kind of plan, but Carol's really becoming like creepy Stepford grandma chick.
Yeah. With all these new clothes, and it's a lot. I don't really think it's more or less of her becoming like the Stepford grandmother kind of thing.
No, she's playing the role.
She's probably playing the role. Like, she's had to deal with so much. She's probably getting this maybe little slight sense of security, and she's trying to go back to what she was.
I think she's getting more secure. Like, okay, let's be real. At one point, she wasn't part of the group at all.
Yeah.
I think we're seeing Carol get comfortable in her spot in the group. Not necessarily in Alexandria, but within their own group, she's found comfort in that again. Whatever she's doing, I think she's doing it on her own because not everybody around her, especially Daryl, who you would think would be ready to sing with her, gets it. Because I think he thinks that she's just giving in and, we're here, we're safe, we're fine, and everybody relax. Because even when he sees her in the freaking weird ass outfit that she had on, he just looks at her like, oh, and this is probably too strong a word, but almost like he's disappointed in her. He's like, you look ridiculous, and he walks away, and he hasn't even had a shower yet, which is good. They are, whatever it is between Carol and Daryl, they're building it well.
Yeah,
they're building it really well. But I like, and this might be a little skip to the end, because I really don't have anything. The one thing I like from Rick, because they're questioning it, right? Like this all looks like, and the audience is doing it too.
Rick's kind of toning himself down. He's kind of turning himself back into officer friendly from down the ways. I
don't think he is. That's where I got to disagree with you.
Or
because listen to what he says right at the end, because they're all questioning it, and they're all. Sometimes the cast members are reflecting what the audience watching the show is seeing, for sure. So they're all sitting there and they're all thinking like, hey, this is great. I hope it's as great as it seems. And Rick's response was, we'll either make it work here or we'll just take it over.
Yeah.
Little bit of governor right there.
Yeah. He has a point though, because it's only going to go one of two ways. There's a 50-50 side to this.
And if it comes down to a battle, the people...
They're going to have to. They're really fucked in this place, and they're going to have to take it over and kill a whole bunch of people. Or B, it's genuinely a safe place, and they're going to make it work. I don't think there should be too much looking into that. I think the more that we should look at is that Rick's preparation to be like, all right, you know what, we're taking it.
And the people in the city don't really have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too much to say about it, but Glenn going out with the gathering team and basically letting them know in the first 5 minutes that they're all morons and knocking them on their asses.
Yeah.
Like, it's the quintessential Glenn, I've been here, I've done this, you guys are idiots, shut up. The whole thing with the jobs. When she says, like they do in most communities and whatever, everybody has their role, everybody has their place, everybody contributes, everybody feels important, all that sort of thing. They've given such and such and such and such and such a job. They gave Carol some like PTA fucking job or whatever the fuck it was, and they're like, the only jobs we haven't found yet are Rick, Daryl, and Michonne. And before they said the cop thing, I'm like, okay, just stop beating around the bush. You guys are border control. Just say it. what else is Daryl gonna be? Like he's a deputy under Rick, under the new friggin' Alexandria police force, and he looks like such a dork. I'm sorry, I have to say this. I know it's a throwback. I know it's supposed to represent him being in civilized society again and feeling comfortable and going back to his roots and all that sort of thing. But after all the things, you and I have said this a bunch of times, and you and I have had this conversation when we do the marathons and whatnot. You go back to the beginning, and even something as simple as his appearance, the fact that he hasn't shaved, the fact that slowly his wardrobe changes. It's all been a physical representation of what a badass he is. Mm-hmm. At the end of this episode, visually, and I know visually is only a small thing.
He looks like a bitch.
He does. He absolutely does. He looks like the guy that was in the cruiser with Shane, crying the blues because his wife said something mean to him in front of his kid. He does. And that's shitty of me to say, and I know it. But
appearance is only one thing. And I think that's what he's trying to do.
It is, but your appearance is what you choose to put forth in the world, and what you choose to put forth in the world 9 times out of 10 is what you are trying to be. So basically, if you go by that logic, Rick is trying to be a bitch. This Rick got shot. I don't know how else to say it, and
I think he's just acting.
Oh,
for lack of better terms, he's just acting.
I think he is too, but it's again, I have to sort of reiterate. I'm not trying to be redundant. What you put out there, you can't help but, even if it is an act, you can't help but become what you put out there a little bit. It's one of those, put on a mask,
just a little bit.
Put on a mask and wear it long enough, and then you forget what your own face looks like, type thing.
Either you live long enough to
it puts the lotion on its skin, or else it gets the poop. That doesn't fit at all, does it? Okay, fine. Do your Batman quote then.
Either you live long enough.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the victim. Or villain. Villain. Yes. There we go. Words.
English.
Stuff and things. So Shane was Harvey Dent.
That seems legit.
That's all I got. Who's badass? Who's the bitch?
Badass and the bitch. I would have to say Daryl's still the badass. Because Daryl has, even though he's in this new place, he hasn't given up anything of what he's been doing. He's just been doing the same thing, just in a new place.
He hasn't sacrificed his mindset at all.
Yeah. He's kind of one that's kind of kept his balls intact, for a lack of better terms.
Okay.
The bitch, I would put as Carol.
Going on appearances right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if I was to call anyone from what the episode reflected on them as a person, the bitch, I think, would be Carl. He didn't really do much of...
Fair. I think we've developed a lot of sympathy for Carl because we've just come to the realization that this kid didn't have a childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little late now, but this kid didn't have a childhood.
It's a toughie.
I'm gonna go a bit far afield here. Badass for me is Glenn, not only for his interaction with the other gatherers and whatever, but what that represented. Regardless of how tentative it was, everybody to a certain point was trying to integrate with this new group and see what they could make work.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn was the first one in the entire group to be like, no, fuck you, this is dumb, you're doing it wrong, this is why you lost people.
That fight that Glenn had with the dude.
Yeah. Glenn was the first one to cause... He was the first one to cause any opposition between the Alexandria town people and their group.
Yeah.
He was the first person to say, okay, we can assimilate, we can work together, we can...
But we still have our ways. Let us
Yeah.
fucking do what we gotta do. You do what you gotta do.
Let me do what I do, and in the process, I'm going to teach you... He's probably going to teach them anyway.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like...
He doesn't want them dictating to him what he has to do.
But no, but think about when they took down Woodbury, when they took down the governor, and they brought in all the stray population from Woodbury. They brought them in, they taught them things, they showed them how to be safe, they showed them how to be secure and make their own food. Like, Glenn, if I'm Glenn, I'll be like, look, guys, I've been out there, I know what it takes to, not get gutted in the first 5 minutes. Let me do what I do. Hell, I'll show you how to do it too, but fuck off and don't deny that I know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
And bitch, at this point is, I gotta say Rick. I gotta say Rick on the level of, he feels responsible for this group. So whether he in his heart of hearts agrees with it, he needs this assimilation to happen.
Yeah.
And
He
I mean,
needs to bring
as much as his Deputy Dewey deal that he's got going on now might be a mask, might be a face, the fact that he knows this group needs to succeed, and right at this point, this group's need to succeed means they need to assimilate, is going to compromise his mindset going forward, and he might just go into being that anonymous drone cop guy under Deanna.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, Rick's done some wiener things before, let's be real. He's gone off into Rick's not okay land.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, if he just becomes the deputy for this woman, then he's not going to be very much better than the cops that were working at Slab City under that chick.
Yeah.
And right now it looks like his desperation for this to work might hurt them. So it kind of makes him the bitch. And plus he looks like he's wearing a Halloween costume of a cop.
You know what, I'll agree with you.
Yeah. But no, Glenn, this was the Glenn episode. Like, he didn't have much in the episode, because that interaction was very, but I think it was the most impactful.
Yeah.
I think it was the whole, like, thank you for having us here. If you guys are what you say you are, we appreciate it immensely. We're glad to be here. We're glad to contribute. But don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get, like, Daryl, like you said, Daryl's maintained his mentality and whatnot,
yeah.
but he's
kind of sitting the sideline.
He's doing it very, like, I'm the brooding lone wolf in the corner type of thing,
yeah.
which is Daryl's deal, so which is why it makes sense, but I don't think that anybody else would have made sense.
No.
because we've seen Glenn is the one that we've seen gone from like the little wiener kid ex pizza delivery guy to, you know, getting attacked in Woodbury, surviving through the prison, losing and finding his wife.
Everything.
Yeah, Glenn, we talked about this a lot last season. Glenn has one of the largest and most impressive character arcs. So him doing that made sense. Give it a season or two more. If this was happening a little farther down the line, I would expect an outburst like that from Carl.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think it would work.
Now, in the terms of character arcs, the definition of an arc is like an arc.
Yeah.
Glenn's character arc right now is probably about halfway.
Well, no, I think it took a dip, and he's altering it right now because he was on the very Rick, Shane, Merle mentality for a while, like fuck everybody.
It's like he had a chocolate dome and someone threw a marble at it, so now he's just kind of pushing the chocolate back up. That's the only way I'm trying to
That was very
relate to this. I thought of like Bubbles, but Bubbles' butt burst and chocolate egg dome things dent. Harvey Dent. It's late. I'm tired. Fuck off.
It's tired in here.
It's tired in here.
It's about time that we fuck off.
I think it's about time we fuck off. We got it.
Alright, guys.
Anything you guys want to see us talk about,
Put it down in the box below.
down.
Also, because I know Bird, and I know he's not going to put himself over, if you're in the Brampton area, come see Bird and his drama dance people's Do La Vida in April at the Rose Theatre in Brampton.
Cheap plugs, but thanks for advertising.
I'm going.
Peace.
If nothing else, you can hang out with me in the bleachers. You know you want to. Do it. Do it. Oh.